So here we have some more ramblings of a grumpy old man. So here I am, just dropped my wife off and I'm by the beach in a town called Mandurah, which is about 60k south of Perth. And just wanted to discuss a couple of things. Last week I put a video out, and if I remember I'll try and put a thing up here for you to put a link there. And it was about the West Australian government EV strategy. So there are some good things about it, don't get me wrong. Some very good things about it. The $3,500 grant for the first 10,000 EVs. Some more charging infrastructure, which is good. The 2.5 cent per kilometre EV tax I don't think is very good. It's got an increase to it of the CPI. So if the CPI is around the 5% at the moment, and that stays for the next 5 years, by the time it's introduced in 5 years' time, it's actually going to be over $3.20 per kilometre. So for someone like me, at the moment I'm doing almost 25,000 kilometres a year. So at $3, that's $750, which, whilst it's still cheaper than petrol, it's going to happen because all the other states in Australia are doing it. I don't know if any other country's got the EV tax like that, and it just strikes me as a bit of a disincentive. Yes, they do need to replace the fuel excise, but there are other ways of going about it. So the problem was, I think I put in that video that I couldn't see anything on plug-in hybrids. Well, I did see it, I just hadn't read it properly. 2 cents per kilometre for plug-in hybrids. So those poor bastards are going to get hit twice. They're going to pay for fuel excise, and they're going to be paying for EV tax. They're paying 2 cents. Now, I had a plug-in hybrid a few years ago, and I was running 77% of my total kilometres was on battery. My plug-in hybrid would do about 40 kilometres on the battery, and work was 19 kilometres away. So go to and from work, come home, and I would just about be out of battery. So that would be fine. I'd be doing that on the EV tax, which would be 2 cents a kilometre. But I did only 77% or thereabouts of my total kilometres were on battery. The other 25%, 23% was on petrol. So I would have been paying 2 cents per kilometre in addition to the petrol excise. And therefore, you end up paying a lot more tax with a plug-in hybrid, which is a bit daft. It's going to make plug-in hybrids very uneconomical. So that's fine. They're going to introduce that. We'll just have to put up with it. So it's actually early-ish in the morning. I say early, it's almost 9 o'clock, but it's a bit cold here. We're in our autumn here in Australia. Temperature at the moment is around the 14 degrees centigrade, which some places I know would say that that's warm. But because we've been in 30 to 40 degrees centigrade until a month ago, it still feels bloody cold. I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. So another part of that EV strategy was the EV charging infrastructure. Now this is another good thing. We've got the need for a lot more EV chargers around, and so the state government, I think, is doing a good job on that. They're trying to get them all installed by 2024. Fingers crossed that it will actually happen. But there's a problem with chargers. As someone myself who's got I've got quite bad osteoarthritis, so my mobility is not the best. So I find getting in and out of my Model 3 a bit hard when my arthritis in my neck is playing up, and the number of times I've hit my head because my neck won't bend, and then it just jars the neck and gives me a headache. So yeah, it's not the best, but I do love my Model 3. So my mobility is fairly affected, and in the last week I have done a huge number of kilometres. I have travelled up and down from Perth to Bunbury. Now that's about 170 to 180 kilometre journey. So I've done a lot of charging at public chargers. And I've noticed a problem. Let's take Tesla superchargers. For all of you Tesla owners, I'm sure you've used a Tesla supercharger. They're great, they work. 99.9% uptime according to Tesla's latest impact report. I think that's pretty bloody good. But certainly the ones here in Western Australia, they're placed parallel to the car park. So if we I'll just go over to my car and show you, but it's not at a supercharger. They're normal sized parking bays, and the superchargers are placed, so if we just look around here, so there's my car, they're actually placed here at the back of the car. So you've got one each side of the car. Now that means when you've reversed in, the cables are very short on these superchargers. I actually struggle sometimes to get between the car and the charger, and then you've got to try and unhitch the short cable and plug it in. So it's all a bit cramped and hard to get into. For a young fella, no problems at all. But I can see people with some mobility problems having some difficulties. There are no what I call blue bay parking slots. They're for the disabled people. People in wheelchairs, people with walking frames, people on walking sticks, those sorts of people. They're severely handicapped, and there would be no way they could plug in their car. No way at all. They'd have to get somebody to do it for them. So look, that's all right. These disabled people are going to struggle at Tesla superchargers. So I would like to see governments around the world that are putting in these charging bays, as well as Tesla, make some wider bays for disabled people. They've got legislation, certainly here in Australia, that every car park, public car park, has got to have a certain number of disabled bays. They need to put in disabled bays for charging as well. Then we come to other public chargers. Once again, no disabled bays, but a lot of the public chargers just don't bloody work. We've got some, I'm in Mandurah, there's the RAC have put in a public charger as part of their RAC highway. which was brilliant. They put it in about 6 or 7 years ago. Really, really good. But they're all 50 kilowatt DC chargers, which is fine. It's better than nothing. But you've got vandals. And certainly the one here in Mandurah, and quite a few others around that I know, have been vandalised. The vandals pull out the charging head and they smash it on the ground. Or people are just cutting the cables off and nicking the copper. Thank you very much. So it's a problem. We need to have some sort of quick fix for any charger that goes down. As I said, Tesla chargers, 99.9% uptime. Other chargers, it ain't as good as that, that's for sure. So you've got people that are driving around, as I was this last week, getting down. I got down to 4%, which is the lowest I've ever had it, but you know, 4%. Fortunately, I was heading towards a Tesla supercharger and I knew it would work. There were 6 bays, they had to work. So I was all right, I was safe. But I've also been in situations where I get to somewhere and the charger doesn't work. Fortunately, I planned for these sorts of things, so it didn't catch me out. But new EV owners, who knows what they're going to think. I just had to get back in the car because the wind was getting up and it was getting a bit bloody nippy. So, in summary, the West Australian government's EV strategy is okay. The majority of it is very good. But I do think that they need to make some allowances for the blue bay or disabled bay charging. And I do think that they need to be able to have a much better uptime than a lot of chargers around Australia get at the moment. Some of them, when they go down, are down for months. It's pathetic. Somebody needs to do something about it. So there you have it. More ramblings from a grumpy old man. Thanks very much. Don't forget, if you like, click like and subscribe. Then the rest of the channel will get promoted quite nicely.